Welcome back, race fans. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Buckle Up, an ultra running conversation. Flying solo again this week. Mandy is probably picking up cones on the side of the Poudre Canyon Trail. She just put on a 50-mile urban ultra in northern Colorado, and I bet you she's picking up those cones right now. So no Mandy this week again. No worries. She'll be back soon, and she's training hard for the Cocodona 250. She wants you to know that. This week, we invite back a repeat offender. We got Jason Bahamundi back. He was in episode 55. He is the creator, founder of Run Try Mag, Run Try Bike, and all the things under that umbrella. We talk a lot about it in the episode, so you'll really get a feel for exactly what kind of content he's putting out and who his audience is, which is really the basis for the whole conversation. So thanks, Jason, for showing up and having a great conversation. Always a pleasure to have you on. Always an easy, free-flowing conversation, and I appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you soon.
Miles of dust beneath your feet, another sunrise you will meet. Pushing past the weary climb, leaving doubts and fears behind. Hear the trail call out your name, ignite that inner hopeful flame. For the journey and the view, and that shiny buckle too. Buckle up, let's start the show.
Good afternoon, Jason. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to sit down and talk with us again. Welcome back as a repeat guest. How's your day going this afternoon or this morning, I guess, in California?
Yeah, it's not bad, dude. I mean, it is a Monday that we're recording this, and so as we all know, Mondays are Mondays, but we do our best to get through it and move on.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking offline about like the case of the Mondays. I'm like in the thick of it. I got 17 windows open, I think, on the top of my screen right here, and I don't even know which one to tackle first. And I don't know if I'm doing any of them well. I just got a lot of things opened up,
Brother, I feel you. I use Chrome and Safari, and just to make sure that this conversation didn't get interrupted, I closed out my Safari browser. That's how many tabs I have open, trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, for sure. You do have a lot going on, and I really want to talk about it with Run Try Bike, Run Try Mag, and all the things you're putting out on social media, and just sharing with our community and really trying to get our community to grow. I know, I forgot my cool hat. I was supposed to wear my cool hat. I forgot all about it because it's got the print underneath.
That's right.
I like the print. I like the print underneath of it. But let's dive a little bit into it. What's going on with Run Try Bike, Run Try Mag, and what's new in your guys' world? What's some new things you're bringing to the table?
I got to tell you, it feels like we're in the middle of this amazing growth situation for our platform. And I think it's because more and more people are relating to being an everyday athlete, which is the thing that we promote the most. And so we have the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network that's out there. We have the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse, which you're a member of. We're just doing a whole bunch of different concepts for people, from articles on our website to posts on social, to let them know that they belong here for a very long time, right? A lot of the media, social media, print media, has surrounded elites and podiums, and they are amazing stories, but it's really hard to connect with that concept sometimes because those aren't our capabilities. And so we want to relate to people who have similar capabilities to us, or people that we want to aspire to be that are everyday athletes. And so we've put together this crazy platform, dude, that has us busy 24/7, 365. And there are days when you're like, exit all out, shut it all down, we're done with it, let's move on. And then somebody writes something inspiring, and I'm like, you know what, that needs to be heard more, and let's put it out more. So it's, what's the name of that show? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where they have the guy who's got the strings on the board, right? Like, that's how it feels some days. I'll tell you a quick story. Last night, I was getting prepared to set up our What's in Your Earbuds podcast that we drop every Monday, and I couldn't get into Canva. Like, Canva, like, I would click the button, it would download something else, and like, it was the end of the night, and I was like, you know what? We'll come back tomorrow morning, and I'll be late with the post, but it'll be what it'll be. And so when I logged in this morning and it let me in, I just let out this big, I got you now, Canva, you mother effers. It's like this release of frustration. But, the post is out there. The podcast episode is up, and people can go have fun listening to Joe and I talk with our community for about an hour about music, and just a way to get away from the metrics of miles and paces and elevation gains and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I love the message. I think there's a couple things that that struck me there. One is that on Saturday was our home track meet. So like when you're the host town, you got to do all this work and prep on Friday night, Saturday mornings really early, making sure everything is just dialed right as best as you can. And something always goes a little bit wrong. But by Saturday afternoon, I got home late and was like, all right, like I got to get into my athletes' training accounts and start building training plans for a Monday morning. And I mean, I just could not get motivated until it was working for me, unlike Canva for you. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to be better suited if I just go to bed. Yeah. And just set the alarm. And even though it's Sunday morning, I set the alarm for 4:45. I came down here. I jumped on the computer, I had a nice big cup of coffee, and I just busted out training plans on Sunday morning until I had to go do something else at 10 a.m., you know? And so sometimes that reset, like just kind of like taking a break from it, like letting it be, you come back to it, hopefully it'll work. And and I came back fresher and more clean, right? And you had probably some better ideas, and maybe the thumbnail looks better than it would have last night.
That's exactly right. I don't think we do this enough, Brian, and I think it's because, we use the phrase FOMO, that we just don't put our phones down and our laptops away enough, right? And I posted this on Threads a few days ago that said, go get bored. When you're bored, you become more creative. And I don't think that we do that enough. And I'm guilty of it because we are doing so many different things, right? We have 5 or 6 different shows on our podcast network. We're putting out social posts on a regular basis, 1 to 3 a day. We're creating content for our website. But there are moments at the end of the night, 7:30, 8 o'clock, where I just put it all away. I'm like, I'm done with it. Whatever's happening in the world, I will wake up the next day and it'll be there. And here's a perfect example of that. I put up a short on YouTube. It was like, I don't know, man, on a Tuesday. And like, it got like 0 views, right? And then about 24 hours into it, all of a sudden it spiked out of nowhere. And it's got like 11 or 12,000 views now. And it's like, why? But if I had kept refreshing, right, for that first 24 hours, I'd have been so angry. Put it in the oven, let it bake. The cake will come out great. It'll be fine.
Totally. Let's dive a little bit into what you are doing, which is, you kind of gave like us a good like 10,000 foot view. But let's talk about, gosh, I mean, I think every day of the week you got some sort of social coming out, or most days of the week, right?
Yep.
I think there's food fight Fridays, which I'm a big fan of because I like food. And I think we have this banter offline, you and I actually, where I got that sweet tooth. Actually, I just finished half a box of Frosted Flakes before I jumped on this call. So,
I love it.
That's my lunch today. But that's what I was like, oh, Jason's going to appreciate this. I'm killing these Frosted Flakes.
That was practically dinner last night.
Talk about what you guys are doing and putting out there yourself. And maybe giving the team some recognition too, like who's on your team and what does that look like in this?
100%. I'll start with 100%. I'll start with the team. So, my face is the one that most people see and relate to the company and what we're doing. But behind the scenes, Ori, my wife, is honestly, I say this and I don't mean it in a way that like in a joking manner, like she's the brains behind the operation. If I had listened to her sooner on a lot of the things, we would have been doing a lot more earlier instead of waiting until now. She has given us so many great ideas that we're putting into place today. Santino Williams is our community manager. He helps with all the social stuff. So it's not just me creating all of this stuff. Like there's just no way I would be able to do that. Santino helps us with all of the social stuff. And then Joe Harden, who is not just a host of Beyond the Finish Line on our podcast network, but he and I are also business partners in RTB Awards, which is an awards company where Joe is the master craftsman. He makes awards out of wood for races as well as for individuals. That's our biggest thing. So for all of you audience listeners, our goal is to help you commemorate your event with a unique design specific to you. And so one of the things we have out there today is a plaque. And basically what we do is we take your GPX file, we take the race logo, we burn it onto a piece of wood, we'll add whatever you want, name, finish, time, all of that stuff, a phrase. And now you'll have something to commemorate your finish line that nobody else in the world will have. And the races aren't offering it to you, right? So it's just a really super unique. So that's the team that we have there and the things that we're doing. So EAPN is our Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. We have a number of different shows on there, but they all have the arrows pointing in the same direction, which is to make sure that the everyday athlete is seen, heard, and represented. So our Fireside Chat and our Beyond the Finish Line are those conversational style podcast episodes We have Enduring Minds with Evan Birch, and that is a mental health podcast. We used to call it a men's mental health podcast because for the first season and a half, we only had men. But dude, we had so many women commenting and sharing it and saying, I just shared this with my husband or a significant other. And some of the other women were like, this is me as well. And so we were like, why are we limiting in this? So it's a mental health podcast that connects the everyday athlete through running predominantly and lets people know that they're not alone in this world and whatever it is that they're going through. The other show we have is What's in Your Earbuds, which is a music show. Literally, Joe and I talk about songs that hype us up. We just did an episode that I published today about songs to listen to during taper when you need to calm yourself down and relax. And so we talk about Sade and we talk about Marvin Gaye on there, like songs that are going to calm you down instead of like Metallica that's going to get you fired up and go running 10 miles. And then Food Fight Friday, Adam Lee and I, who is the host of Community Trail Running, we host a show where we're presenting 3 foods and you have to eat one, toss one, and carry one. And we give you a scenario at an aid station. So it's really like a 10 to 15 minute show that you can blast through on a Friday that will kind of set you up for the weekend and just give you a lot of laughs and enjoyment. And I think that's the whole concept of the network, Brian, is that we want people to understand that running is fun, but it's not our whole identity, right? Because, and I come from a place where it's heartfelt. I've gone through burnout twice in these sports, and it's awful because you want to do the thing that you love, but you now hate it because you've done it too much or you've put yourself into a position where you only identify as a runner, or for me as a triathlete as well. And so I want to remind people, like, go have fun with this stuff. Like, it's okay to laugh. It's okay to cry. It's okay to tell jokes and just share stories with each other and don't have to fixate on zone 2 running 24/7. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Gosh, that sounds like a ton. And the small little army you have behind yourself helping you along with it probably isn't adequate. I mean, adequate enough. I mean, like you need more people, but it's great. I mean, like you'd never know it outside looking in. You know, you think there's more people behind the scenes doing a lot more work, but it's great. You guys put out just a ton of great content. I follow along. I like the Food Fight Fridays. Again, that's kind of like one of those niche spaces for me. I get a giggle out of it and I move on about my day, and it just takes me out of the moment of whatever I'm doing might be more stressful, right?
That's exactly right. And I just recently launched Shout Out Nation, which is literally a 5-minute podcast, or the first 2 episodes were 8 minutes. And it's only, the whole purpose of it is to give everyday athletes their flowers. So the podcast that went out this morning, we recognized Ryan Reynolds for getting under 2 hours at a half marathon. We recognized Amanda Katz for talking about, having joy in a world full of turmoil. I recognized Nick Klostava, who referenced Fast and the Furious in one of his posts and living life a quarter mile at a time, which I thought was great, like movies and correlating to running. Like I wanted to recognize that. And then April Pullins, she bought a coffee for somebody on social media. She literally ran a giveaway to buy somebody a cup of coffee, and whatever coffee costs in her town. And it's like, for $5, she put a smile on somebody's face. And so Shout Out Nation, as I'm perusing the internet, I take screenshots, I do 3 or 4 shout outs to those everyday athletes, and we move on. And I think it's similar to the Food Fight Friday, where I want people to smile, make that the thing that brings joy to their world so that they can then bring joy to somebody else's world.
Totally. Gosh, it's just a great community that you guys have created. I enjoy my space in it, my little corner of the world. I'm always checking out the Slack feed and just kind of like perusing it when I get the moment between the 27 windows I have open. If I close a window, I'll hit Slack real quick and just kind of take that pause and then come back to the next window.
That's it.
But I enjoy perusing the Slack communication inside of the little network, inside of the micro network, inside of the whole thing. It's just great.
We just had a happy hour on Thursday. It was an hour conversation amongst, a handful of people. I think there were 10 or 12 people in there. And it was just cool to hear stories. Like I found out that Bobby Lee, who goes by Goofy Nerd Runner, hasn't had watermelon in 40 years. And he's an ultra runner. Yes, your eyeballs just jumped out of your head. Yes, exactly. It's wild. Like you just get to learn about people, and it's damn cool.
Yeah, I think one of the things you're doing on there too, which luckily for me, I'm injured. Because I can't dance. I mean, if I wasn't injured, I still can't dance. But now I really can't dance. But you guys are doing like dance classes with an instructor. And I think you're meeting once a week. And you're just basically like building community through this screen that we're always constantly staring at already.
Yeah, I am super fortunate. Rebecca Bowman is a certified dance instructor, and she offers her services for free once a month. We host a dance class. It's usually like 4 o'clock Pacific time in the middle of the month, and it's like 45 minutes. And for those of you who are listening and you're like, oh, I don't want to be on screen, trust me when I tell you, 0 people have anybody else on the screen but Rebecca. And the reason why I know this is because the last class, Rebecca was like, oh, I'm going to change the setting. And she was like, can you guys see everybody? And everybody was like, we only see you. So you don't have to be embarrassed about being on the screen. And if you are concerned, just hide your camera. Just click the camera and hide it and enjoy the dance class. And here's the thing. So I run in the evening often. And so I do the dance class 45 minutes, and it is the greatest warm-up because every run I have had after that dance class has been phenomenal. So join the dance class, schedule your evening run that day, and you'll have a great warm-up and a great run. Trust me when I tell you that.
Yeah, it's probably a great warm-up, but also it's probably like that mental edge, right? Take the edge off of your day, your stress, your life, all the other things going on in your life, and you're ready to go run and enjoy the day because you just let loose and had some good music and enjoyed some time with some friends, right? In a different fashion than the other ways we connect with others.
And I'm sure you know this too, right? Like you see something pop up on your calendar, you've had a day and you're like, man, I don't want to do this. And then you get into it and you're like, this was great. Like for a lot of people listening, it's Run Club, right? Run Club is happening. I don't want to go. Then you go and you have the greatest time. Like oftentimes that's what this dance class is like for me. It's like, man, I don't want to link into Zoom. Like I'm tired. It's been a long day. And then once we start dancing, like everything changes and the world gets brighter. And again, we all need that. We need brighter worlds.
Totally. Jason, let's talk a little bit about your recent training lead up to the Oakland Marathon and then what's kind of next for you in the realm of racing.
Yeah, it's wild. So the Oakland Marathon was my first standalone marathon in 14 years. So the backstory is, I ran the Vegas Marathon. It was their first one with rock and roll at night. And my goal was to qualify for Boston, and I missed by a mile. And I hurt so bad, dude. Like I hurt so bad after that race. I said as I crossed the finish line, I'm never doing this again. And for 14 years, I did not do it again. I ran hundreds. I ran Cocodona. Like I go do that before I run a marathon again. But we launched the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse Run Club Tour. And so we're going to 6 locations over the course of about 7 months this year. And Oakland was the first one. But I'll tell you, I was scared to get into a marathon training block because I did not like the marathon training block for Boston. I felt like I was going 100 miles an hour 100% of the time in that training block, and I just didn't enjoy it. And so when we started this training block, I was like, whew, man, I don't know if I'm going to really enjoy this stuff. But I got into it. I actually had a great time. And because it was my first marathon in 14 years, like all of the pressures I would have put on myself previously, like, oh, you got to do this and you got to set PRs and like all of these things, I just let wash away. And I was like, I'm going to go have fun. And I will tell you this, for anybody who's looking to run a marathon, go to Oakland. They show up for the athletes all throughout that course. It's a beautiful race course. If you're running the half marathon, it's going to be hard as all get out because the first 8 miles are nothing but steep hills. And then if you're running the marathon, you've got 18 miles to recover from those steep hills. But the half marathon is, I would say, is probably one of the harder ones you will find out there because of that situation. But it's a cool town, man. I don't know if you've ever been there, but that city is fun. It's eclectic. The food is phenomenal. The coffee is great. And the people, Berkeley is near there, and the people are they're just into being, I don't know if they call themselves Oaklandites or I don't know what they call themselves, but they're just into being into Oakland. And it's super dope, man. Like I just had a great time there. So all the races we have following now are going to be hard pressed to beat that. But we're connecting with community members in every city that we're going to so we can do shakeout runs and connect with each other. We'll be in Pittsburgh at the beginning of May. And Val Porter is hooking us up with her community, and we're looking to launch a shakeout run from a bakery, which you can't go wrong, right? Go run a couple, 3 miles and then have some donuts and bread and croissants and coffee. Can't beat that. We'll be in Salt Lake City for the Salt Lake City Foothills Trail Race that Josh Rosenthal, the founder of Borderlands, and his crew puts on. And so we'll be there. We're doing the half marathon there. So I'll still get my feet dirty on the trails this year, which will be fun. After that, we're going to San Francisco for that marathon. Then we will be in Seattle for Beat the Blurch and doing the half marathon there. And then we'll finish up at Joe Harden's Odd Duck running race called Hustle in the Heartland. It's an hour 1 mile looped event. So we'll get in some ultra miles at that event too. So it's a packed year for sure.
Wow, that sounds awesome. Where is Joe's race at? Where does Joe reside?
Joe's race is in Lebanon, Indiana. And for those of you who have no idea where that is, it's about 2.5 hours south of Chicago, not far from Indianapolis.
Oh, smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So it's cool. This is the second year he's doing the event. He did it last year. I think he had 60 people do the event last year. People setting PRs, people running their first marathons, people running their first ultras. He had 2 wheelchair athletes there. So when Joe says this is an inclusive race, he means it, because it's not just gender or sexuality. It's disabled athletes can participate in it too. And so it's going to be a blast. I know there are 5, actually I think 6 Everyday Athlete Clubhouse members that are going to the event. So it'll be a nice little reunion to close out the racing year for the Run Club Tour for us.
No, that's awesome. That's a great little tour. Gosh, you're hitting all the corners of the world. Maybe not the southeast, but I think you hit all the other corners of the world, right?
Yeah, so the goal is to do this every year. And what we'd like to do is then find the next 5 or 6 races for 2027 that are, I don't want to say off the beaten path, but lesser known than like the Chicago, Boston, New York marathons, right? That's why we went to Oakland. San Francisco is probably the biggest event we're going to this year. We've had people tell us about the Colfax Marathon up in your neck of the woods to participate in, as well as the Cape Cod Marathon. And so we're looking to go to these races so that we can also get relay teams and have clubhouse members show up and work with each other and really seal that bond on the community aspect of what we have built.
Yeah, build the community, guys. I mean, gosh, you guys are just nailing it on the building the community side of things on all fronts. I mean, you're on all the platforms. And when I think about like this podcast and when I got started back in the day, I was kind of like hesitant about like, do I go on to the podcast platforms? Do I just make a YouTube channel? And really after a long run, I really kind of thought it through. And I said, we have to meet everybody where they're at, and get it to them and bring it to them, as opposed to expecting them to come to me wherever I'm putting the information at. So I think that you guys have this just broad network that you're spanning across all channels and platforms and modalities, right? So now you're bringing it to the town or to the community, right? Physically, as opposed to just being on this computer screen all the time.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy. I'm a positive person, but I get angry, dude, at brands who talk about community in such a passive way, or in a way that it's just meant to generate sales, right? Like, I have a company. This is a business. We make money when people join the clubhouse. We make money when people click on our affiliate partners. We make money when brands want to partner with us. None of it matters if I don't have the community around us. And so everything that we do is built on that community. The comments that you get from us on your social posts are coming from Santino or myself, and they are purposeful. They are heartfelt. They are literal comments that are not, meta AI generated, right? Like that, this is who we are. So when I ask you for something, it's really coming from me because it's something that I want. So if I ask, and we do it for every podcast, and I'm sure you do it too, right? Subscribe, rate, and review. Like that means a lot to us. Comment if you're using Spotify or YouTube. Like that means a lot to us because sure, it gets us into the algorithm, but it brings you into our community. And for us, that is everything. Every comment that gets made to us gets responded to. And if it doesn't, it's only because we missed it because the world is moving so fast. But I would say we respond to 98 to 99% of all the comments because community is so important, dude. And a lot of that just comes from when I was younger, moving all over the place. So I never got to have a sense of community, right? Like we were always moving. And so now as an adult, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to create my own neighborhood, for lack of a better term, even if it's digitally. I'm going to create my own neighborhood, and I want everybody to show up and come and hang out.
Totally. And I think, we get stuck in, or we get rutted into this idea of like comments, right? I'm using air quotes for you guys listening, but we get rutted into comments, and that's like the social media term for replying to someone, right? I mean, we kind of know the general term of what it means. And where I'm going with it, though, is that like, it's a comment, but it's really like a conversation. It's like the other, and it's the answer to the question, or vice versa. It's the question to bring about conversation and start some back and forth rapport and I'll comment on this one, and then they do reply back. I'll comment again, and it's starting the conversation, right? And it's bigger than a comment. I think, you know what I mean. I know we use the term comment, but I really think you're starting that conversation.
Yeah, it's a bonding thing. Like when you posted the picture of you in a boot, man, like that bothered me. I was like, oh, shit. Like, man, I can't believe that this guy's in a boot. We were just talking about racing Leadville again and all the things. And I'm like, this stinks. And so I made a comment to you to let you know I'm thinking about you. I'm sending you healing vibes and love because I want you to get better, because our running space is better when Brian is running, not when Brian is laying on the couch in a boot. And it was heartfelt. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make this in passing so that Brian comments back, so that the algorithm looks at me and says, oh, you look, all that stuff works for the algorithm, yes. But what works for me is actually letting Brian know I'm thinking about you. You're a part of my world, and I hope things are getting better for you. Or if you do something successful, you're going to go mow your lawn at some point this week. I'm going to cheer for you to go mow your lawn, right? Like it may be something small, but I'm going to recognize that your world includes that. And I want to make sure that you know that you're a part of my world and you're a part of our community, because that's important to me. It's not just about somebody giving me a thumbs up, on Instagram or Strava or something.
Totally. I get it. I think, the community aspect of it is just so real. I go back to this home track meet that we just did on Saturday, and, I think our communities where we live and where we interact, like these parents showed up and they were pumped. I mean, they wanted to see their kids run, but they were also like really eager to help out. Like, and that's kind of like a change of pace from when I was a kid, and I felt like it was like, oh, like I got to sell hot dogs at the concession stand again. My mom would like roll her eyes because she was like, seemed like she was the only mom coming out to sell hot dogs at the concession stand every third day for baseball games, right? Like, I mean, It was, it was like a little bit of pulling teeth. And sometimes we do have those challenges, finding the volunteers and all those things. But like in running and even into high school level, like these parents came out in droves. Our community showed up to represent our town. And it's just exciting. And I stood a little more tall when that parent shared that with me at the high jump pit. He's like, oh, I'm here for it all today. Like, whatever you need.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, man. Like, yeah, I appreciate that, as opposed to like, when's lunch and when do I get out of here?
Well, I know you experience this because when you're coaching, so you have a tight-knit community with your athletes. I also know that you're a runner, an ultra runner, which means you have had pace and crew before, which also means that you've paced and crewed before. And I was just talking about this earlier, like, when you pace and crew for somebody and you're giving up of your time and you're helping somebody out, like there's almost nothing more rewarding than that in the grand scheme of things. And I think that this whole conversation of community is circling around that. So like for you, the listener to the Buckle Up podcast, if you have a chance to pace somebody or crew somebody, do it, even if it's a stranger. Because when I tell you the stories that you're going to walk away from that experience with will last a lifetime. I could fill up hours of Brian's podcast right now with stories from pacing at Badwater, from stories of pacing at Bandera, from stories of pacing at Rocky Raccoon and Tahoe 200, Moab 240. And it's because it was just that community that wasn't being distracted by electronic devices. And that's amazing, dude. Like, I know you've experienced it too, because I could see the smile on your face thinking about all those moments of pacing and crewing and being paced.
Yeah, you mentioned, even if it's a stranger, and I say even better if it's a stranger, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love crewing, I love pacing my friends, but we're already friends, right? And so, like, I've shown up at, I don't know, mile 60 of a race, of somebody else's race, and met them at the aid station tent after some banter online, like some Facebook post, maybe an email, logistics, like, oh, you plan on being here around 8:00 in the evening on Saturday from a Saturday morning start, and I'll show up at the tent and I'll be there, and like we'll figure it out. And so like I've like stuck my hand out, hey, I'm Brian, nice to meet you, how are you doing, what do you need? And then like it's a little awkward at the beginning, but it quickly flows. There's no devices to distract us, there's no outside energy. It's you and that person and the trail or the road or whatever the course might be that you're doing. But it's really rewarding, and gosh, and I think we become really vulnerable in those moments when we are the participant, and we're able to like just kind of like we've already peeled away 6 layers of that onion, so we're really close to the core root feelings already. And so like it just comes out, right?
Yeah, you get raw in those late night moments when everything is, you're tired, you're hungry, you just gotta feel like, if I sit down, I'm good, right? And your pacer has listened to you for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, and now they're gonna pick up on something that you said earlier to keep you going. And when you're done and you get that buckle or that medal, like that bond never ends. I paced at Vermont 100 last year. A friend who I haven't seen in 7 years, and I've paced her numerous times. And she reached out and she said, "Hey, look, I know you're in California, but I don't have a pacer for Vermont 100. Do you mind getting in a plane and flying all the way across the country for this?" And I did it. Lori and I got in, and Lori crewed, and I paced, and we had just a fantastic time. And we have so many stories from that one weekend alone, right? And it's because you are there for them in their rawest moments, and they're there for you in your rawest moments. And I don't think there's anything better than that. And a lot of this revolves around trails and ultras, but trust me when I tell you, for road runners, if you have the ability to pace somebody on the road for a half marathon or marathon, it's the same thing. Yeah, you're not gonna be rubbing their feet and popping blisters. But at the Oakland Marathon, you referenced it earlier, Santino, who I ran with, doesn't carry water with him. So as we're coming up on aid stations, I'm pointing to him like, "Hey, there's the water. Don't miss it," right? There's the water. Don't miss it. And it was just kind of like crewing him in that moment. And there was one aid station that he almost missed. And he was like, "Oh, thank you so much." I almost ran, because he was so focused. And that moment will live forever in my memory banks of sharing those miles with him on the road. So it's not just trails and ultras. Like, go run with people, man, and leave the devices at home. Like, don't run with your camera in front of you.
It's so interesting because, man, I'm a coach, and I want my athletes to challenge themselves and do races because basically that's how I make money, but also that's how I share with them, right? I mean, that's how I connect with them. That's how that's the goals we're training for. But I honestly do think that crewing and pacing is just way better than running the race itself sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I get so much out of it. I get to enjoy my community. I get to share with somebody else's excitement in their race. I get to help, be a part of their experience. And I don't have to run the 100 miles. I can only run like 30, 35 miles, and I still can walk the next day. Yeah, I can still walk the next day. And so it's like a win-win-win to go out and crew and pace people at these races. And I've been doing a lot of that lately. I've already shared on the intros of the previous episodes about my foot and my surgery and all the things. And I've been injured for a few months now, but I still wanted to come out to these communities. So I'll volunteer. That's another way to give back to the community and share in it. So I like to go to, that's where I think we first ran into each other was at Across the Years a couple years ago.
That's right.
I was back this year. I ran the aid station for like 3 nights in a row. I love the midnight to 8 a.m. shift. Like, there's no one around. There's no bosses. Nobody wants to be in charge. It's kind of just chill, but we just get the food out and keep it moving. I went to Javelina. I always volunteer and pace and crew and do all those things. I knock them all out in these races, and I just love doing that. And to go to the marathon side, the street version of these races, doesn't have to be these ultra distance, doesn't have to be trail and 8 days long or anything crazy. I also pace for Beast Pacing as one of the companies, but I pace marathons and half marathons. I like the 2-hour group and the 4-hour group for the marathon. I love carrying that sign. And one time I was running down Fort Collins. I was running down the Poudre Canyon in Fort Collins, and it was just pitter patter at my feet. I got my 4-hour sign, my stick with my little 4-hour sign, and I'm bobbing up and down. And we're probably 10 miles in. I mean, so it's getting quiet. The crowd's done with their excitement. We're just holding on and sort of cruise controlling and just staying there. The newspaper caught a picture of us that they put in the paper, but I didn't realize it. When he took the picture, I heard the click of the camera, and I turned over my shoulder, and I thought, gosh, how many people could be behind me? There was like 40 or 50 people back there. I felt like Forrest Gump. All of them following me, and I was like, oh man, I got to pump them up. Like, I didn't realize there was, I only saw the 2 guys on either shoulder, and I just thought there was only 5 people back there. No, I had 40 or 50 people behind me. And I said, let's go, just start to try to pump them up a little bit. And you could hear the pace pick up a little bit. We've got a little more movement. Yeah, it's great. And so all those things are rewarding. There's always a need for it as well, right?
Yeah. Brother, I love that story. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Beast Pacing was started by Vanessa Klein. And we'll be having her on the Fireside Chat podcast in about a month or so. I ran into her. I was introduced to her by a lady by the name of Andrea Herman, who does so much in the nonprofit space, charity space, to help runners get charity bibs and help them with their fundraising. And Andrea is a member of the clubhouse as well. And she was like, I think you need to talk to Vanessa Klein over at Beast Pacing. And so we'll be talking to her. And this is also a part of the community, right, that often gets overlooked, is this ability for people to say, hey, you need to talk to Brian, or hey, you need to talk to Jason, or hey, you need to talk to Mandy in this particular case as well. Like, that also helps bring the world that is so vast and so large and bring it a little closer so that we feel like we're a part of something instead of just like a coconut floating in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we are in a niche space, ultra running, triathlon. Those communities are still small as a general population, go. But 6 degrees of separation still work in this space. I mean, obviously you're having Vanessa on. I've worked for Beast Pacing, Vanessa. I've met her on a handful of occasions. She actually ran past me while I was pacing one of her races. She took the entry and she was in the marathon, and I ran past her in the half marathon pacing. And she had to tell me who she was because she was in a regular, like a running shirt and a vest running the marathon. Yeah. She's like, it's Vanessa. Awesome. And I was like, oh, hi, boss.
But this is what I think, like, the running community should be, right? Like, it should be the opportunity to sit down, have a cup of coffee or a Diet Coke, and share these stories without whipping out my VO2 max is, right? Like, if I tell you a story about having raced Western States, it's not to put my peacock feathers out that I've raced Western States. It's to tell you something that happened during Western States. And for me, when I reached the last aid station, I was hungry, I was tired, I just wanted the race to be over, right? And I think I had 6 miles. I think the last aid station's at mile 94. And they had the greatest smelling shredded potatoes going on the skillet, dude. And when I tell you, that was like sent from heaven. It was the greatest thing ever. And so I want to tell that story, not because it was at Western States, but because the volunteers were there all day and night, and now they're making these hash brown potatoes for the athletes that are coming through to help them get to the finish line. And like that whole sense of belonging to each other and sharing those stories, because there's somebody who's going to hear this, who's going to be like, I've been at that aid station and I know exactly what you're talking about, and it'll help their memory banks, get lit up and be excited about.
That's awesome. I love it. This podcast will come out just slightly after the Boston Marathon, but so it's already happened. It's in the history already, but it really hasn't happened while we record this. So what do you have any plans for the Boston Marathon? Do you have any rituals? Are you going to watch it, stream it on the side, and still continue to work? What do you do for Boston Marathon Monday?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll probably pull up the app for some of the athletes that I know that are racing it and refresh every now and again based on that. Because I will tell you this, when I raced Cocodona and people were telling me that they were tracking me, and I'm like, how boring could that have been, right? Over 110 hours. Like, what are you watching for? But I realized, like, when I was tracking Ohm at one of his 200 that he was doing, I was like, okay, like, you're not watching the dot move every second of the day, right? And so for Boston Marathon, we'll load up the clubhouse members that are racing, put them into the app, and other members of the community, and track them all along. It's not to say, again, I won't be impressed by the elites. I'm sure they're going to have great races, but my focus will be on the members of the clubhouse and the members of the Run Try Bike community as they make their way from Hopkinton down to Boston and celebrating, dude, and you know this, years of hard work for some of them, right? Like the just misses on the qualifying, and then the qualifying times adjust, and now you're just missing again, or having been injured or sick or whatever it is. And so all of those days, weeks, months, and years for a lot of athletes culminating in that finish line where I can then celebrate them as they finish and just be super happy for them.
Yeah, on that same theme, like, yeah, I love the elites. I will watch it on TV live, and I'll watch the finish. I'll have my favorite horse in the race midway through, and I'll see if they could do it or not, whatever it looks like at the halfway marks. But really, you're absolutely right. Like, the rest of the group, the rest of the 60,000 plus people behind that first 40 or 50 finishers has their own story, their own journey that got them to that starting line. And man, some of those stories are just so challenging. Like the triumphs over, adversity, and like all those stories just like resonate, and those are the stories that you're telling, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's wild. Like when you see people who qualified with 3 minutes to spare and didn't make it because they needed 3.5 minutes, right? Like 30 seconds is nothing in the grand scheme of things. And their dream has been dashed for a season because of 30 seconds. And then all of a sudden they qualify the next year because they went back to the well and did all the hard work and got great coaches like you to help them out to reach that milestone. And now they get to celebrate it. You've run Boston a number of times, correct?
Just once. I've done New York, Boston, Chicago, and as the world majors go, just one each, and just some local road marathons. I kind of stayed away from them. I went straight to, I actually didn't do a road marathon until 2014. I did New York as my first one. I always swore, being a New Yorker, that New York was going to be my first marathon. So I skipped it and went straight to Ironman. So I did a marathon, but inside of the confines of a full Ironman. And 2005 was my first Ironman. So it took me 9 more years to get in. I actually didn't get into New York. I got into New York under the old premise, which was if you applied 3 times, they let you in the 4th.
Yep.
And in the middle of my 2-year, halfway through the 2 years in of the process, they stopped that process. But they still granted if you had 2 in, they granted you that they would work you through the system, but never backfill the rest of it.
Yeah.
So I was the last one to get in under the premise that if you applied 3 times, you got in 4. But it had to be like 3 in a row or something. There was some caveat there, but I kept applying 3 in a row. 4th year I was there in 2014.
Did you time qualify for Boston? Like put in the effort to get down to? So my question for you is this: when you put in all of that work and effort to time qualify for Boston, when you ran Boston, did you run it like, I'm going to go and I'm going to run Boston, I'm going to full on race it? Or were you like, I qualified for Boston, I did the thing that I really needed to do, so I'm going to enjoy this more. I'm going to race, I'm going to run hard, but I'm not going to pour every ounce of my body out there. What was your approach?
Great question. I think that, if I were to say those 3 world majors again, New York, Chicago, and Boston. Chicago I raced. Super fast course. That was the time I used to get into Boston.
Okay.
But in Boston and New York, both times, I came in with the idea that I had some goals, and I was pretty ambitious goals, and I thought I would run until the wheels fell off, but then I would take my phone out and take pictures on every corner and hug the guy at the aid station and get all the pictures, because if the wheels fell off, I still wanted to be part of the experience. But if I was having a great day, I was going to continue racing. Both races, the wheels fell off, and I wound up getting a lot of pictures.
I want to ask you this too, right? So because you just mentioned that like the qualifying to get into New York changed, well, for a lot of people that are listening to your podcast, the idea is I want to race Western states, which has become nearly impossible with the lottery. And now Cocodona is going to lottery. And I was fortunate. I registered for Cocodona. I did it the inaugural year. All I had to do was give them my credit card, right? They were going to take me in no matter what. And so like your thoughts on like, do you think this is something that's going to happen with a lot more races where they go to a lottery system? And it's not elite because it's a lottery system. So they're not doing it based on time. But it is closing the doors. And some races have to do it because of the size and their permits only allow but so much. Do you think that changes the experience for a lot of people? One, heightens it because it took me so long to get in. But then for others who are like disappointed because it's been 6 years and I haven't gotten in, and so they drop off and move on from it. Like, this is a tough balancing act for Jamil at Aravaipa with Cocodona, but I'm sure other RDs are considering it too.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a good point. I mean, the sport is growing year over year astronomically. Ultra running specifically, the ultra running community, some of them are just skipping the road version of it. And so they're not coming through the halves and the full marathons, and they're just going straight to the trail, which is great. But we're seeing like this huge influx of running, right? It's great for coaching. It's great for Everyday Athlete podcast listeners. It's great for, we're putting all this new content out there for this community that's just growing exponentially. I think that, we talked about it last week on the podcast with Simon, just briefly with Mandy and I, and we were kind of discussing like this idea that, there's these big races and they're great experiences, but it also allows for that new entry-level trail runner to just stay locally and do the mom and pop race down the street and really get kind of like the grassroots feel of the ultra running community in what it was and what it has been in the past, which is,
Yeah.
you know, you get to an aid station at mile 25 and you're like, you know, some old timers telling you he's got burgers and hot dogs, and you're like, okay, cool. And then he winds up sharing with you that he's the uncle of the race director, right?
Right.
And he's out there and he doesn't know anything about running, but you guys are crazy. And here's a hot dog and here's a burger, you know? And then you get to the next aid station and it's the next door neighbor of the race director, right? And by the time you get to the finish line, there's somebody just like waiting on you, getting all your drop bags. And you're like, who was that guy? And they're like, oh, that's the race director. You know, and you're like, these are the people that are like literally working like through the process. And there's nothing wrong with Jam like not being that guy. Although if you go to any Air Viper race, Jam is running around like a chicken without a head, always fixing the little things that need to be fixed. But sometimes these race directors don't put all that into it because they have a bigger, you know, more people to help them out and do those things. But I really think it allows this running community to experience those grassroots types of races. You know, like Mandy's got a little smaller of a community and Run Windsor, Northern Colorado. She just put on a 50 miler. I want to say there was like less than 100 people at it just this past weekend. It's why she's not here today. She's probably picking up orange traffic cones somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Heard her cones. But I'm with you, dude. Like I didn't think about that concept of the old hats being there and the neighbor who doesn't know really anything about anything but is there to help out. And your point is really well taken in that we're bringing it back to the origins, for lack of a better phrase. And I think you get more appreciation for it, right? Because if everybody's pining to run the one big event and they run the one big event, there's a lot of steps along the way that they're missing out on. And maybe this is coming from a 52-year-old who's gone through the process, right? I went through 5 or 6 years of qualifying for Western States before I got in. I'm like, if I never submit a ticket again, I have that experience. Cocodona, here's my credit card. I did it. I have that experience. And so I think that, you know, maybe it's because I'm the old guy in the neighborhood that I'm like, yeah, go back to do the smaller event. And we're putting our money where our mouth is. Like we're racing the Oakland Marathon, or race the Oakland Marathon. 11,000 participants sounds like a big race. Less than 900 ran the marathon. Everybody else was 5K up to the half marathon. And then there was less than 1,000 that ran, less than 900 that ran the marathon. And it was, maybe that's what lent it to be such a cool environment where you weren't surrounded by swaths of athletes and you couldn't run a straight line because you were weaving in and out so much. But it meant a lot to me to be able to do that. And so I think you're right. I think you've hit the nail on the head with the idea of bring it back, go do your local runs, go meet the people in your neighborhood, go meet the members of your community, join that local run club and hang out with those people. And as you make your way through the events, then find the one that's important to you, not the one that's important on social media.
Totally. So my other analogy there is Leadville. Leadville's a hugely popular race.
Yep.
Super hard to get into. I mean, blind lottery, regardless if it's fair or not, whatever you think of lotteries. It's their race. They can do what they want. They pick the names. They tell you if you're in or not, and they don't have a wait list. There's no backfilling of it. You're in or you're not. I think they roughly pull 800 names. They usually start around 725. Later in the season, they'll add in the pro names and kind of build a good front of the race type of scenario for rightful reasons. And I've been able to get into that race 12 times. I've finished 10 of them. And so it seems like this oddball thing, but I struggled to get in. The first year, I mailed him a check before a lottery was a lottery. Just like you, they took my money. I mailed Ken and Marilee a check to a P.O. box at Leadville Race Series, P.O. box, I don't know, 123 Leadville, Colorado. And 3 weeks later, that was like around March. In April, I got a typed letter with an actual signature on it from Ken and Marilee saying, "We'll see you in Leadville, son. Dig deep." Right. And I showed up in August and ran the Leadville Trail 100 that year. The following year in 2011, I want to say it wasn't a lottery. In 12, it went to a lottery. I got lucky a few times. In 18, I didn't get in, so I wound up doing the Leadman Series, which includes the run, just because I was still trying to bypass the system. In the 50 that year. No, maybe it was the marathon that year. I placed high enough in my age group that I got a golden coin for 2019 to bypass the lottery, but still pay full entry price. In 2022, I didn't get into the lottery. And of course, now I'm really chomping at the bit because now I'm up there around like 7 or 8 finishes. And so like I did the lead man again to bypass the lottery. And then by then, about 8 finishes or so, then they understood the assignment, right? They understood the assignment that I'm trying to do this 10-year. I'm trying to do 10 years, right? And so they just started, I kept applying, but with no other means, and they kept putting me in after 8. Yeah. And so I got the other 2 done. This past year was my 10th Leadville. I have 2 DNFs there.
Amazing, dude.
It's one of those iconic races, and like you want to do it, you want to put it on your radar. But the years I didn't get in, I did other smaller races. I did, I did a 50 miler on the Grand Mesa Ultra. I mean, which is a small, really small community. I want to say there was less than 100 people there doing that back then. I think it's grown now. So these races are growing, but I think it's really beneficial to go and keep applying for these big races. Have those big goals, have those big dreams, but keep working towards it if you don't get in by supporting your local community, your local races.
Yeah, and seriously, check out Mandy's Run Windsor events. She puts on some great events. I've talked to her numerous times. You know, she's putting on not just events, but events, right? Like I know she has a glamping thing that occurs at one of her events, and like that's just cool stuff. That makes the experience. Before we wrap up, because I know we're going to be bumping up on time here soon, do you still have the letter from your first Leadville acceptance? No?
No, I don't. But you know what I do have is the parking pass windshield tags. I've kept almost all of them.
That's awesome.
Use them when I'm not running. I just hang it on my windshield.
Yeah, dude, I love it.
It's such a side story that I coach high school track, high school cross country, and sometimes I'll drive myself to the event. I won't take the bus with the students. And for whatever reason, I got scheduling issues or something like that. And I had the assistant coach with me. She's like, oh, you should park. Like, and I just kept driving straight to the front. And I parked in a spot that maybe might have been questionable is how I should say it. But she's in the passenger seat. And I said, hey, move your knee real quick. And I open up the glove box. I pull out parking pass from some event, and I just hang it on the tag and leave the keys in the car and walk away from it. And she's like, you're absolutely insane. So I'll use parking passes, and I'll park in questionable spots pretty often at races and hang a tag on there like I'm an official or something along those lines. So if you see my white truck out there, don't be moving it.
I love it, dude. We've known each other, I think, since we pretty much launched this company. So we're talking about 5 years, and I have always love seeing your stories, seeing you show up at events that you're not racing in. I've had the good fortune of, connecting with you at Across the Years a number of times. And it's always like an instant bond in those moments, even if I haven't like exchanged a message with you. And just hearing that story about the parking pass is everything. Like that's Brian Pacenti. Like I know who that is based on just our interaction. So for those of you that are listening to this very first episode, like keep that story in mind as you listen to future episodes or you go back to listen to past episodes, because that's who he is, and that's the guy who's hosting this podcast that you're listening to, that you're also going to subscribe, rate, and review, right, listener? You're brand new listener. You're going to do that for Brian, right?
I think my latest tag was share it with your run club. We're getting creative on who we want you to share it with. Like share it with your run club. Play it while you're at run club. Just play it from your speaker, your external speaker.
I always tell them, tell your barista or your Uber driver about the podcast.
Totally. I think I used, I said, let your grandma know. Like, let your grandma know. Because she's sitting around, probably not doing much. She's got a lot of time on her hands. She could watch it on 3 different channels at the same time.
That's right.
Jason, we've been ending the show most recently with the Leaving Las Vegas theme, right? You got that sign as you're heading back to LA.
Yep.
It says, thanks for visiting. You're leaving Las Vegas. It's big billboard, right? That's the theme of this last question for you. You have your billboard, and it's pointing out to your community. What does your billboard say? What's your message to the community?
You're welcome here, as in you are welcome here. If there's no seat at the table, we'll build a bigger table and get you some seats. You belong here, and it's got nothing to do with pace or miles. As a matter of fact, if I ask you a question that deals with those metrics at the very beginning of a conversation, point it out, because it's not anything I'm interested in. Like I'm interested in you. What do you do for fun? Where are you running? Not how fast are you running? So I want everybody to know that they're welcome in the Run Try Bike community. and in the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse. You are welcome.
That's awesome, Jason. We love that. We love that messaging. Gosh, it's Run Try Bike, Run Try Mag. What are the actual handles?
Yeah, at Run Try Mag everywhere you go. One of the things I've been able to do over my 25 years as a marketing expert is understand branding. And so Run Try Mag everywhere. Go to TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, our website, Run Try Mag. That's it. You'll find us everywhere.
Thanks again so much, Jason. Always a pleasure. We'll have to catch up again soon. I'd love to see how the end of your season rolls out. Yeah, we wish you the best of luck. Again, tag Jason in all your posts and jump on all his channels and like, share, and subscribe.
I appreciate you, Brian. Thanks for having me on, bro.